Hello YouTube, Josh here with a review of Star Trek The Next Generation #1 Ghost Ship. Here we'll have a good look at the cover here. Very well done. Did some research. Ghost Ship is basically set sometime in the first season between episodes 5 and 6, according to Memory Beta. I decided I have this nice collection of books here, but I don't do anything with them but look at them, so we're going to read one a week, and then I will get on here and do a review. So the first part of the review, I will just kind of talk about the general story of the book, the general themes, and I won't get heavy on spoilers. Then in the end, we'll switch to a different part where if you want to just go away and not see the spoilers, you just pause it right there, and then go read the book and come back later. So to start, we will read the back here. So Ghost Ship, published in 1988, written by Diane Carey. 1995. A mysterious creature destroys a Russian aircraft carrier, and just as mysteriously disappears. And 300 years later, Counselor Deanna Troi awakens in her quarters from a nightmare where she senses and understands the voices of the crew lost aboard that ship. A crew whose life essences were somehow absorbed within the creature that destroyed their ship long ago. Now Picard must find a way to communicate with the creature, or he and his crew will be similarly absorbed by the ghost ship. So I finished this today. Took me about a week to read, just spent a little time each night going through it. And I gotta say, initial thoughts were very good. I thought it was well put together, kept me interested in it, and for me, when I read these novels after watching so much Star Trek, it's easy just to picture the characters and just to picture the scenes, and I felt that I was able to do that well with this book. Basically, the way this book starts, as I described on the back, is that a Russian aircraft carrier from 1995 is absorbed by this giant kind of energy creature. And then we flash forward, and of course now the Enterprise has come into contact with this creature. What they decide to do, or what actually happens here, is they find that the creature is attracted to power. So if you shoot a phaser at it, it shoots right at you and it gets you. And then that's what happens the first time that they meet it. So the first time they meet it, they fire phasers at it, they're hit back hard, and they realize, this thing can find us through energy. So from there, what they're doing is basically running dark, like an old submarine movie. So they're trying to keep power low and figure out a way that they can get past this creature. Now, of course, this whole time, Counselor Troi is in some kind of contact with them through her telepathy. So with that, she's been able to kind of guide the crew or guide the captain on exactly what they're facing. And what it is basically the souls that this creature is sucked up over time. And what they want is to be released. So they're asking the captain basically for help to destroy this ship and get them out of there. A couple of the main themes that were touched on in this book. First, what does it mean to be alive? This is something that Data really kind of comes forward with in his quest for humanity. And this being kind of earlier in the season, the crew is not as close as they are. So Riker still looks at him as just a machine. And that's kind of one of the initial conflicts in it. And it plays out in several scenes, or Riker basically kind of demeaning him and telling him that he's not, basically not alive. Which leads Data to wonder, what does it mean for him to be alive? Which comes into play much later in the story. Another neat thing I thought it touched on was it went into depth, at least 2 or 3 pages, on how LaForge actually saw things and how difficult it was for him to put all that together and kind of layer those different images that he is projected into something he can actually see. And that is kind of the first time I'd really thought more about how difficult it must be to take these computer signals that he's receiving and actually kind of put that into something that he can, actually see and understand. So I really enjoyed that part as well. Um, since these creatures were asking for basically the crew to kill them, a big discussion was had between Dr. Crusher, Captain Picard, Commander Riker, and Counselor Troy on essentially euthanasia and what their thoughts were on that. And I thought that was interesting. They touched on that subject and they kind of hit it from all different angles. And eventually, what they decided was that, or what Picard decided was that he needed to feel what these kind of disembodied creatures, these souls, were feeling while trapped by this energy creature. So he decided to go into a deprivation chamber, and through that was able to kind of come to a firmer decision and decide that they needed to take care of it. So I don't want to get too deep into spoilers here in this section of the review, but suffice to say that with some planning and some help from kind of each member of the crew, they made sure to highlight everyone's abilities. They were able to pull this off, and they were able to destroy the creature in what I thought was a really well done finale. I mean, it reminded me of the end of a really exciting episode. So really enjoyed that. Figured it was very well done with a nice finish. And some changes in the characters. Riker goes from seeing Data as a machine to seeing him as more alive, which was really nice. That will conclude the initial part of the review. Okay, so anyone who doesn't want spoilers, I hope that they've left. I'm going to go into just a little bit more detail on the end and just kind of how I thought it played out, the things that I thought really were cool about this book. So for me, I guess I did really like how they explored Data's, for lack of a better word, soul, or I guess that's the best word. How it came down basically is Data decided he was going to fly out in a shuttlecraft to this creature and see if it would take his soul, if he had a soul to take. And flew out there, and then Riker, kind of distraught, thinking it was his fault that he was out here in the first place, followed him out there and was able to track him down kind of directly as the creature came upon him, and they were both beamed back to the Enterprise, their ships destroyed, and when Data came back, he was gone. All of his android mechanisms were functioning fine, but there was no consciousness left. So, effectively, he had been killed by the creature, and his consciousness was now trapped inside with these other Russian crew members and the other millions that this guy has taken over the years. So you see a big change in how Riker sees Data. And then the finale, which I thought was really good, the creature, in the end, decides that the only way to trap them, since it can't find them without an energy source, is to slowly close in around them. So that's what it does. So Picard maneuvers the ship near a giant star, so that as it closes in, it can't get close enough to trap them, has to shrink to a smaller size and kind of face them head on. So in a really fantastic final battle there, they're kind of trading fire, the creature's attacking them, they're firing, phasers full, the phasers fail, they're all being electrocuted, absorbed by this creature, and he gets an idea to fire photon torpedoes into the gas giant. So you can imagine the scene on the bridge, and they're all electrified, and they can barely move, and these Riker's reaching for the panel to fire the torpedoes, and he hits it finally, and the torpedoes fire into the sun, and the sun erupts, and it destroys the creature and blows him up. They have some extensive repairs to do the ship, they take care of it, they bring it back around, and LaForge is there on the bridge, kind of reminiscing about Data, who he believes is gone, and Data walks in behind him and takes his seat there at ops. Basically what happened is when the creature was destroyed, his essence, since it had a place to return to his body, kind of answering a question for him, is he really alive? Of course, it's never touched on in the show at all, but it's really interesting to me. So yeah, I thought the ending was great. I liked all the kind of the questions they put forward and they answered on it. Characterization was good, considering you're thinking about someone who's maybe seen 5 or 6 episodes of this, and they've already kind of got these characters down to, what we remember from that time. So that's all I'm going to say about Ghost Ship. One more time, we're going to have a look. Next week, we're going to be moving right along to number 2, and this is going to be The Peacekeepers. So tune in next Sunday, and we'll have another review of Star Trek The Next Generation books, number 2, The Peacekeepers. Have a good night.